I woke up the next morning and I couldn't wait to tell Ken and our daughters about how many women had been elected heads of state. And then I proceeded to ask everyone around me who I thought might know the number, and nobody even came close to half. I asked friends, I asked CEOs of big companies, feminists, people on the street.
How many elected women presidents and prime ministers in the whole world do you think there have been? Elected, no royalty.
2 or 3.
Not many.
5, 6, 10.
I would say under 5.
I don't know.
So the answer is 50.
50, really?
50.
Oh, wow.
50. But not enough.
But not enough. Yeah. I mean, I've always thought of myself as a feminist. My great-grandmother marched, my mother marched, I've marched. Even when I was growing up, my mom was writing her PhD thesis on the importance of mentors and mothers on successful women. And my dad wrote books about women in power. So I was completely disappointed in myself for not knowing. And it made me think, what else don't I know? And this all set me down a road to piece together a new narrative that looks at where are we really on the greater arc of history of women in power? And what's it gonna take to get to a 50-50 world? And I'm not talking just politics and boardrooms. I am talking across all parts of society, truly shifting the gender balance to be better for everyone. So in order to think about where we are on this arc and how we're gonna get to where we wanna go, let's go back to the very beginning. It turns out the oldest hominid ever discovered is a female hominid. Not a feminist, but a feminid. Okay, we actually know very little about who wore the pants back then. Not that pants even existed. But fast forward to the Neolithic age, things were pretty egalitarian. Women and men had equal social status, and the earliest written laws reflected these egalitarian societies. Women could choose to marry and divorce. Women were healers, shamans, religious leaders, warriors, and lawmakers. All genders were respected. We're talking over 10,000 years ago this was happening. And then, like many times on our journey, the story takes a dark turn. The balance shifted. My father attributed this shift to literacy rewiring our brains. Others point to the rise of agriculture, which favored physical strength, the conquest of land. We started seeing the development of military, political power. Even art became more dude-centric. Goddesses became gods, and the voices of women were silenced. In ancient Mesopotamia, one of the earliest laws stated, if a woman speaks to a man out of turn, her teeth will be smashed in by a burnt brick. Patriarchy had arrived and was literally chiseled in stone.
But we know that our history has been written mostly by men.
Mm-hmm. I want the rest of the story. How are we supposed to know where we are in the arc of history if we don't have the full context? And not just elected leaders, but the centuries of badass women that I know were there, paving the paths and contributing to where we are today. Let's go find them. Here we have Hatshepsut in ancient.
Let's go find them, people. Welcome to Mom Talk. I'm happy and honored to have one of those leaders here with me today, Roma Khetarpal, founder and CEO of Tools of Growth, parentologist. She is so cool, so active, and so on it in bringing peace and peace learning to the forefront of leadership when it comes to moms, women, and just everyone in general. So Roma, welcome to Mom Talk.
Thank you so much, Nellie. It's always a pleasure to be here and to be with our wonderful audience.
So happy to have you. You're my soul sister, you know it, and I love you so much dearly.
Thank you.
So let's open up this conversation. 50-50. What are your thoughts?
You know, I told you I'm not a mainstream thought about this. I really believe that it is very important for us to be equal in gender. We have spent, 10,000 years, as was just depicted in this narration here, sort of not being equal, having a hierarchy of men over women. And yes, there's definitely a need for that. We should, as as you would know, each one of us believes in who we are as human beings and our own existence, and how our own existence is not any less important than anyone else's, be it, a fellow female or a male. So I think the time has come. The time has come. So,
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So as parents, as educators, as soul leaders, what are our social responsibility? What can we do to cultivate this, to support it, to join in some of these movements, to spread the news, to communicate this message to our families, to our community? And I think the biggest community, so when I'm meditating, which I love to do, I love to start my day every day with lighting candles and a meditation. And it's focused on bringing that soulfulness, the spirit to the heart and starting a day. So lately, I include this prayer into my visualization of just witnessing so many women leading and being in soul leadership positions. My daughters, my girls, I envision them, as well as my son, our son. So it's having that vision that everyone can rise and be, one. And so those he for she's, the men who are supporting the women to help them rise, the men behind the women behind the women. And it's tricky sometimes because in our duties, or as we rise, we sometimes run into situations where still we are acting from that place of competition, scarcity. We feel, oh my gosh, like if I help support this friend or this woman or this person, whether it's in our community or even within our household, right? If it's a family member, if I help, bring him up, what does that mean to me, to my position? What will that
do to me?
Yes,
Sure.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of this also stems from our upbringing, right? No matter which way you look at it, when we are born in certain households, or if we have parents, especially moms for women, if we have moms that felt that they were lesser than, or were treated that they were lesser than, or were even raised, going back even further, were raised that they were lesser than and not of equal stature, not just of stature in a social way, but I'm talking about in your place in life, then obviously that's a seed that we carry on and grows into a weed. But I think generally it has to do a lot with our upbringing, and I'll give you my personal example. I was born and raised in Kuwait. I'm Indian. And so I never felt at any point, Nellie, just I think because of the strength that my mom displayed in how she raised us and who she was as a woman, as a wife. And of course, going back to my dad, there was complete equanimity in our home. My mom did not have any less opportunity, and considering that we were in the Middle East, so go figure, right? I mean, those are the places where women are really now screaming to really establish themselves and find their footing in society. So I think it has to do a lot with your upbringing as well, and I know you come from a similar background as well. Very strong mom.
Yeah, very strong mom. My dad always supported. He was the he for she. He always helped rise my mom and help my mom achieve or develop or be her best. And I was just sharing this with another soul sister the other day. I was saying I always appreciated when my dad at the end of each meal would stand up and help put the dishes away and help with the cleaning. Wonderful. And help. Yeah. It made me feel so warm in my heart, and that he cared, and that we were all as a family equal and trying to kind of drive and at times when he was working, my mom was studying, or when my mom was achieving, he was working. So they kind of
so forward thinking. Right? It's very forward thinking, I would say.
I mean, I was always amazed at the level of conscious parenting that he practiced for his days. So this is back in the 70s, and it is, stemming from the peace movement. But he always would really focus on allowing that healthy space between him and my brother, for us to kind of find our souls and who we were, and to create, cultivate peace or learning or those elements of early development.
Right.
And I always thought, it was different because I could see the other parents around us, and even my mom.
Yes,
my mom
yes.
even had a different style of parenting. But his style was really, I could always feel a healthy space between him and I.
Right.
And I always tried to remind myself in my relationship with our
your children, right.
Say, that really felt good. I felt free.
Yes.
I didn't experience guilt or shame or some of those negative emotions that sometimes we do when the relationship is a little too close or too tight.
Right.
And there's a lot
or
of
not
projection.
equal,
or
right?
not equal.
Because this is what we're talking about, is the equanimity, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it is personal, but on a social level, when we are conscious of it and when we intend to pay attention to it and elevate it and cultivate it, then we're taking a positive step towards peace learning in that direction. And I'm so glad to be with you and like-minded folks who honor that, who value
Absolutely. And I think it's the biggest gift that we can give forth to our boys more than our girls, because our girls will see by example, as we have seen, with our moms. But when it comes to our boys, this is of the utmost importance, is that we not just advocate it or believe it or talk about it, but actually walk the walk.
That's right.
And talk the talk so that they can see. And I love that this generation is shifting, boys, men, young men, especially, new dads. They want that relationship. They want that equality. They want their spouse to be a working partner. They want to have a relationship with your child. In fact, there's a TED Talk by Michael Kimmel. I don't know if you've seen it, and this is what it is. It talks about gender equality, and it gives you a lot of statistics on what's going on today. And I love it. I think it's so important. Yeah.
To include it in our daily conversations.
Yes.
It's important. So instead of paying attention to achievement so much, or academics conversations, or sports conversations, let's also raise up and value and integrate these conversations into our daily conversations with our children, with our spouses, our friends, and in the community.
Right.
So it's important. May 10th, you have an opportunity to join this ripple effect, or letitripple.org. You can join this conversation. You can watch this film. You can support this movement and be part of it, take part of it within your school community, within your family community, within your parenting groups. Join it and stand up and have your voice be heard. So that's that.
Oh,
So moving
what an
on.
important topic, right?
It is.
Very
it is.
important
It's
topic.
very important topic. Now, you and I, we were blessed. I feel like I was so blessed and honored to be at the Super Soul sessions
Yes,
with you.
that was amazing.
Oh my gosh! It makes me want to breathe, exhale.
Amazing.
It was amazing,
Yes.
amazing. So I just wanted
Only
to.
Oprah can do this, right?
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. And I thought it was like one of those, how you think that the type of connection you're going to have with your child, and you imagine it, but when you actually hold your child in your arms for the first time and you look at your child, you're like, oh my goodness. It is just so spectacular. So it was one of those aha moments.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that Oprah has this fabulous knack of doing it every single time. I mean, this is the third one. Wow. And it's the same essence that one feels even when you watch a Super Soul Sunday. Mm-hmm. It's the exact same feel that you get. You always walk away really accessing your higher self.
Yes.
And to do it in a group, to do it in the setting with how many, like almost, 2,000 people, 1,800,
people.
I think it was 1,800, they said
yeah.
people.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
This conscious, this group consciousness, this elevation.
Yes.
And this is where you actually feel the evolution of oneself, not individually, but collectively. It's very powerful.
Collectively. It
very
was so powerful. So imagine close to 1,800 drummers.
At UCLA, yes.
Each of us had a drum
Yeah.
between our legs, holding it in our tummies right here. And we got to play our own drum, and we got to to individually experience what it meant to connect and have rhythm and feel the beat, but also collectively, like Roma says, to have that collective connection. And you know what was really amazing, I thought, was that we had got our tickets individually, right? And so when we got there, we were seated next to our friends, and that soul sister connection was all
There's so
in place.
many of us that knew each other, and we all seemed to be like in a, let's call it like a 10-seat radius.
Yeah.
Right?
It
Literally
was
like
amazing.
2-row and 10-seat radius. We were all
Amazing.
somehow placed there. And it was
Amazing.
great. yeah.
Amazing. It was just incredible.
yeah,
It was
yeah.
incredible. It was a very special day. We got to share it with special soul sisters, and let's.
Who was your favorite?
I was gonna ask. Yeah, you beat me to it. You know, I have to say, I told you about this. The moment where Oprah was interviewing
Gary Zukav.
Yeah, Gary Zukav, and the moment where they put up these images of the ships, the mothership,
Yes.
and I mean, I still get goosebumps talking about it, because I had the same vivid images, the same image in a dream, you guys. I had the same image in a dream where my dad was telling me or teaching me after his passing about form and formlessness, and about soul leadership, and about being present and connected to what, you know, life is, and consciousness, and the cosmic consciousness. So I had experienced that.
Wow.
And there I just found myself, it was
Melting.
it was
Right?
just unreal.
Oh.
I mean, I was just looking, and I started crying, and I couldn't help but making the connection. And my father was very present that day too. So it was just something. And then getting to meet him afterwards, and giving him a hug, and it was just so beautiful.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, what
Yeah,
was-
I have to agree.
Yeah.
You know, I followed Gary Zukav's work for, I don't know, 20 years. That my sister and I were talking about this because in the middle of the show, she sent me a text in the middle of Gary Zukav and Oprah's talk. She sent me a text and she said, "This is the first book that you gave me 22 years ago." And she remembered that. And so I thought, no, it couldn't be that long. And we found out afterwards that it was The Seed of the Soul is the book.
Yeah.
Gary Zukav's that very first impactful work that went, you know, viral in those days, right? And was a bestseller. That it was the book's 25th anniversary this year.
Really?
So timing was right on.
Wow.
It was right on, and I'd seen him on Oprah, and he just was amazing. And of course his
Amazing.
series,
Yeah.
you know, Seed of the Soul, Mind of the Soul, Heart of the Soul, just fabulous.
Yeah.
So for
So
me,
highly
to actually
recommend
meet
him
Yeah.
and his work. I believe it's been translated in Farsi. I think it's been translated in Farsi. But Seed of the Soul. And then, what was your favorite moment? What did you find?
You know, I have to say that what had happened was, you know, when at the very end, when Tony Robbins was, you know, and he has this, you know, larger than life energy, right? And I think that throughout the show we had gone through, you know, the quiet time and the, you know, the reflective time and the inspiring time and the funny time, and there were all these different speakers that brought, you know, their true selves, that to finish off the show with Tony Robbins on such a high note with so much energy was unbelievable. Right behind me, you know how they were teaming people up. So this is really cool because they were teaming people up, you know, to see how you can help each other. What is it that you can give each other? What do you have to share? And I happened to team up with somebody behind me because on both sides people were in pairs. So I turned back and there was this wonderful girl and she tapped my shoulder and said, "Do you have a teammate?" I said, "No." So we started exchanging together, and you know, she said, "So what do you do?" And I told her that, you know, I'm an advocate of mindful parenting, and she started crying, and she said, "I need you. I'm having so much trouble at this point in my life with my kids, and I'm in so and so place of my life." And there it was, and we've connected since, and we've talked many times, and so
that's
you
so
know,
beautiful,
that's
Roma. That is so
something that went from that moment of complete openness into real life, into a real life connection, and it's really fabulous. Yeah.
Wow, how empowering. So if you are standing in line, or you are in a group, or you are doing something, or just meditating, having that openness to open your heart and pair up or pay attention and notice someone next to you, across from you, and connecting, taking a risk, a chance to talk to a stranger. This was also another one of Papa's favorite things to do. He always spoke to strangers, and he would drag me into these conversations. Come, I want you to meet so-and-so. And, I'm like, do you know this person, Dad? It's like, we just met.
Right, but I do know him.
Exactly.
Yes.
He was so open-hearted.
Yeah.
And always there was some soulful, not always, well, most of the times, some soulful connection.
Right.
And then something great came out of it, just like your encounter. And
Wow.
that's beautiful.
That's beautiful.
That's beautiful.
And I think that's what life is all about, is if we can make those connections, and not just making those connections, but actually feel the power of those connections in our day-to-day, in our moment-to-moment, then really we're living out the true essence, the true purpose of why we're here. I think that there's this big misnomer that we are here to live out our purpose of doing something, whether you're in service, or if you host a show and bring so much value to the audience and education and awareness, and I teach mindful parenting, and these are just things that are gifts of the doing, but there's this larger gift of life, which is our common purpose, I believe. This is why we're here, is to really feel that essence of life and live that essence of life in the day-to-day, in the moment-to-moment, with these instant connections that we make. I think that to me is the most powerful.
So today, Mom Talk suggesting you go out there, take a risk, step into the unknown, and make a connection. Make a connection with someone who will make you more aware of yourself as well as them. And then in the me space or me conversation between you, the me, and the we, you will find some mystery that will lead you in the path of peace learning and consciousness.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I want to go over some features of mindfulness. You're the expert. You're one of the experts in the field of mindfulness parenting. You teach mindfulness to schools, educators, parents, and your community. So I want to review some of these, because it's always interesting for me to know in peace learning and mindfulness and making those connections, what are we cultivating? What are some elements or dimensions of learning that occurs in those encounters? So, of course, self-awareness is a big one.
Yes.
And
the foundation, I think.
The foundation,
yes, absolutely.
How would you describe self-awareness to someone who's watching this show for the first time and they're not familiar with mindfulness or mindfulness parenting, and they want to know, well, they kind of know what we're talking about, but not quite. Let's break it down.
Sure.
In what it looks like in the parenting relationship, or if you're educating.
Or any relationship.
Or any relationship.
Sure, absolutely. So mindfulness, by definition, is being aware of our thoughts, feelings, and expressions. What we're feeling, what we're thinking, how we're behaving, those three elements of communication, inner and outer communication. And of course, our relationship with the other in that. Totally being aware of how this affects the other person. And self-awareness is simply turning the light on, turning the spotlight upon yourself, going within, not functioning, functioning on the outside, but really with this sense of alive awakeness, where you're really visualizing and absorbing what you're saying. And that first comes from that first self-training, if you will, that practice of really self-reflection comes from tapping into your feelings. First, how am I feeling right now? And how did I make the other feel? And then going to, what am I thinking right now? How is the other thinking as well? Not necessarily about me, but what they might be thinking. And to know that each one of us has our own space. And if we're just aware of our space, then we naturally become aware of the space that the other is in. And you have this newfound respect of ownership within this form that we all function in, and how important it is for us to realize that it is awareness that connects our form to the formless, our conscious self to our unconscious self or our body to the consciousness of life. And that is mindfulness.
Yeah.
It's a pathway, a driveway to consciousness.
That's right. So to recap in Farsi, در رابطه با حضور ذهن در پرورش و آموزش در خانواده صحبت می‌کنیم، رفتار پدری و مادری با کودکان و mindfulness، حضور ذهن داشتن در رابطه با کودکان و نوجوانان. از خصوصیات حضور ذهن یا mindfulness این هستش که فرد دارای خودآگاهی و حضور ذهن در رابطه هستش، هم با خود و هم با دیگری، که دیگری در رابطه با کودک هستش، در رابطه با همسر هستش و غیره. بنابراین وقتی که ما در یک فضایی که من چیزی رو که توجه کردم این هستش که ترس و frustration، اون حالت سرخوردگی و یا چالش که در رابطه به وجود میاد، ترس و frustration، این دو حالت موقعی که حس میشه، موقعی که ما حسش میکنیم، همیشه نشونه خوبی هستش برای اینکه ما قدم بذاریم در زمینه‌ای که رشد صورت بگیره. بنابراین وقتی که ترس حس می‌کنیم یا خود سرخوردگی یا frustration حس می‌کنیم، این به ما یه گوشزدی خواهد بود برای اینکه ماورای اون چیزی رو که بهش عادت داریم که معمولاً فرار هستش، گریز هستش و یا با خشونت رفتار کردنه. چون ما وقتی که به عنوان مادر عصبانی میشیم، خشمگین میشیم، از اینجا میاد که we're feeling frustrated یا we're experiencing fear. به جای اینکه اونگونه که عادت داریم عمل بکنیم، برگردیم به یک زمینه یا پیش زمینه‌ای که یه مقدار خودمون رو از بیرون نگاه بکنیم، حضور ذهن داشته باشیم و قدم بذاریم روی یادگیری در سوی صلح. آسون نیست، ولی وقتی که مایندفول هستیم، وقتی مایندفولنس و حضور ذهن و awareness داریم، خودآگاهی داریم، با اندیشه و حضور برخورد میکنیم با این چالش، بسیار بسیار پرورش و یادگیری صلح راحت صورت میگیره و از اون قدم‌ها و یا پله‌های اولیه peace learning و یا mindfulness هستش. Very important point. So moving on to, so we talked about having emotional intelligence, the mind sight, the understanding of feelings as it relates to self and others. I was just briefly talking about how awareness of fear and frustration. And
yes, I got that.
When you got that, I could see that now you are in the flow with me.
I'm always in the flow.
And I love it. So moving on to courage. This is a big one. Courage, capacity to step outside the bounds of convention and when we're stuck. This is when fear, frustration, those old patterns, habits, judgment from, all the messages that we've heard in the past that we're not good enough, we're not strong, we can't do this.
Coming from a place of lack, yes.
Yeah. So how do we cultivate courage in the relationship?
So I think courage goes back to self-worth, right? If we believe in ourselves and know that we are here, we are on planet Earth, and we are here to share our complete selves and to live out this experience we call life, and know that there is nothing that can't be accomplished if we put our mind to it. And I think that courage is all tied into our self-worth, our self-confidence, honoring who we are. We don't have the courage if we don't understand who we are. But if we understand who we are, the power and the strength that we have within ourselves, then courage is sort of a natural offshoot of that. It's not something that you have to cultivate. It's not something that you have to build. It's just something that you have. Now, when you are lacking in that self-worth or self-respect, and a lot of this has to do with the environment that we're raised in.
I was just thinking
yes,
that.
Of course, it could be an experience on the outside outside that you've had in your childhood that's planted a seed that's grown into a weed, right? We could have that. Or it could be parental influence. It could be, a myriad of influences that we all grew up with that sort of cumulatively form the path of our life. Whatever it might be, building that self-worth, that self-esteem, that self-courage, that confidence really is what translates into courage, because I think courage is the action of it. But the action of whatever it is, that behavior comes from within. So looking back within
Beautiful.
would be the key. Yeah.
So the intent is to cultivate courage, and that's important in this peace learning journey or mindfulness. I think the intent is set on building, cultivating courage. بنابراین اگر شما نیتتون این هستش که شجاعت رو یا با شجاعت عمل کردن رو، کرداری که تو هم با شجاعت هستش رو ارتقا بدین یا پرورش بدین، این نیت خیلی مهمه. courage یا شجاعت، شهامت در چه موقعی صورت میگیره؟ در موقعی که دوباره ما احساس ترس از چیزی داریم ولی ما ورای ترس قدم میگذاریم برای پرورش صلح یا برای پرورش آرامش درون و بیرون. بنابراین نیت خیلی اینجا یا حضور ذهن خیلی مهمه. در mindfulness parenting اینی که شما نه تنها آگاهی دارین از اینکه در هر موقعیتی ترسی تجربه میکنیم، به خصوص ما ایرونیا، به خصوص تو فرهنگی که همیشه روی آبرو و روی حفظ آبرو و ظاهر و باطن و اون چیزی که ما نشون میدیم یا اون چیزی که در درونمون تجربه میکنیم، یک شکاف‌ها و یک جدایی‌هایی در این روابط وجود داره. بنابراین شهامت ما یا شجاعت ما یا کورج ما در این هستش که این تفاوت‌ها رو بدونیم، قبول بکنیم و ماورای اون قدم بذاریم. در موقعی که میدونیم آبرومون میره یا میدونیم که این برای رابطه یا برای قدرت من در رابطه، اگه من مادر هستم یا پدر هستم و در یک موقعیت قدرتمندی، speaking of equanimity and equality, so if we're in a situation where, our background, we come from hierarchy, a background where, there is the patriarchic or this parental position, but we now know
it's on a shared platform. Yeah,
right. So we now know that operating more on a democratic, more on an equal base can cultivate peace learning. Again, I am very sensitive to cultural differences, but as a researcher, as a psychologist, someone who has studied how the impact of these types of communication can cultivate peace from the inside out, we are having this conversation of courage when you are in a position of power, whether it's in the parenting role or whether you're a community leader or a teacher, an educator, that you move beyond that, you step down and you create an equal platform so that you can communicate in a way that...
Well, they say that, every great teacher is a fantastic student, right? So this really comes down to the same basis of life. If you want to be a good teacher, then you have to be a good student alongside.
Amen.
So exactly.
Amen. For all you educators. اگه از ایران تماشا میکنین و در آموزش و پرورش هستین، قبول داشته باشین که بودن شما به عنوان یک معلم و در درون شما آموزگار و دانشجو یا استاد و دانشجو یکی هستن و اگر شما این رو بتونین در پرورشتون، در آموزشتون، در آموزش و پرورش و یا هر رابطه‌ای که با شاگردتون دارین گفتمان بکنین یا پرورش بدین و گفتگو بکنین، این میتونه خیلی بیشتر در رابطه شما صلح و اون mindfulness رو بیاره و cultivate بکنه. So it's all about cultivation of peace and peace learning.
Of course,
right?
of course, that's it.
That's it.
It's the foundation of a life well lived.
There you go. A happy, long life, everyone.
Yes.
You want a happy, long life, then we have to cultivate. We have to learn. And it's a learning experience. I was very curious. I've been looking at some of the voices of peace, whether it's children, educators, researchers, interviewing experts, because I'm writing my upcoming book. And so I'm looking at some of these quotes that children of different ages, 10, from Germany, and the art that they have, or Albert Einstein from Germany. Peace cannot be kept by force. It can only be achieved by understanding. So here you have it from Einstein, that it's all about peace learning, everyone.
Yes.
It's all about peace learning
About
and
understanding each other,
exactly.
which creates peace.
It's through
Yes.
learning. It's through being the teacher and the student, being the observer and the observed, and really being open-minded.
Not having that hierarchy.
Yes,
Everything
yes.
comes back to that oneness.
It's oneness.
Everything comes back to that oneness. And when we separate out of that oneness, when we create separation, that's when all the chaos starts.
That's right.
Because until we're on that same platform, whether we talk about, gender equanimity, or we talk about teacher-student relationships, or a parent-child relationships, no matter which way we look at it, as long as we are fused in that one, knowing that we are the same, we are one. We should be treated alike. My feelings and your feelings are equally important. My intelligence and your intelligence, even though it might be different, are equally important. My form and your form, color, race, religion, whatever your choices are no better than yours. They're just different. When we come from that core, that foundation of oneness, that then becomes peace.
Yeah.
And then you don't even have to establish peace.
And it's
That is peace.
And it's not a dream. It's not a fantasy. And many of the discoveries that I've had with children or individuals or even experts in defining peace, it's almost this formless quality, or this lack of focus or intent on discovering, understanding what it is that it is. So peace, can be a fantasy of everyone living happily ever after, being respectful, having happiness in your heart, being nice, applying the golden rule. But really underneath it all, there is this deeply rooted force of understanding, like learning it.
And if you just look at the word, Nellie, right? Understand. It's stand under.
That's right.
Not
That's
stand over. And I teach this in parenting all the time.
Yeah.
If you want to understand your kids, then come down to their level.
Yes.
Stand beside them. And in fact, bow down a little bit. Let them take the lead. And similarly in human behavior, right?
That's right.
If we understand each other and say, no, you go ahead, you take the lead, I'm right here, and play this equal platform, sometimes you lead, sometimes I lead, then we have a strong standing.
That's right.
And that's where peace comes from.
So for those cultures where we see high-handedness, right? So our culture, I think, has a history of high-handedness. It is mindfulness and intent of being low-handed in situations, in interactions, in communications, in conversations, that we are able to cultivate peace learning. It's peace alongside with the learning process that cultivates this openness to learning from each other with a low-handed relationship, being submissive in the relationship, so that we can learn. Because a receptive brain is a brain that is encountered by someone or some experience that makes you feel safe. And we all know that in situations where we feel that we can be, engulfing, or we can inclusive, or we can that in that position we feel calm, we feel safe, we feel loved.
We are together.
We are together.
Yeah.
It's the oneness.
Yes, exactly.
It's the oneness. So let's have those conversations. One of my favorite quotes from JFK is, "Peace is a daily, a weekly, a monthly process, gradually changing opinions, slowly eroding old barriers, and quietly building new structures. And however undramatic the pursuit of peace, the pursuit must go on." So it's not dramatic. We all know that, right? Peace is quiet. Peace comes with being low-handed. I mean, I know this. برای خیلی از شما که علاقه به صلح دارین، میدونین که در روابطی که توش تو هم با صلح هستش یا پرورش آموزش صلح هستش احساس امنیت و احساس آرامش میکنیم. بنابراین تو اون روابط، تو اون گفتمان ها توجهمون رو بذاریم برای اینکه عمیق‌تر شناخت پیدا کنیم که در روابط، چه روابط مادری و پدری با بچه هامون، کودکانمون، چه روابط استاد با دانشجو، چه روابط لیدر، رهبر با اون کسانی که پیشروی میکنن، در این روابط cultivation یا پرورش صلح مهمه. بهش ارج بنهامی. You know, Cyrus the Great, he was one of the ancient leaders with so much wisdom. He led with love and equanimity, and he wrote the Cyrus Cylinder, the first declaration of human rights.
Yeah.
So we have this. We have this in our ancient history. It's in us. It's in our epigenetics. It's just being awakened, aware, having the self-awareness,
Right.
and bringing it to the forefront where we are reminded of the value of equanimity, of being low-handed. And if you're not the person, or your personality is a little more dominant and you lead through dominance, that's okay too. Lead with dominance, but
With respect.
with respect and the intent to still rise up
Of
the
course.
person in the relationship.
Yeah.
I think, you know, that would be such good work to do for your kids. You know, I have 3 kids of different personalities. I
Yeah.
have to say, or, you know, one is more like dominant, you know,
Sure.
one is more submissive, but they lead differently.
Of course.
There's different
Of
leadership
course.
styles.
And it's the recognition of this, right?
Yeah.
Because when we start to recognize that we have our own gifts and they're different, and yet we are the same. It's just as simple. It's such a foundational principle of human, just of being human, of this gift of being human. And only we have this gift. And interestingly enough, we're the only species that has this gift. And yet it's the least valued, it's the least used. So I think we're definitely getting there. And I'm really excited that this whole idea of, you know, being equal is now becoming the norm. Right? It's such a no-brainer thing. It's like, you know, why should this idea have to be planted in us? Why don't we already know this? Because when this is who we truly are, then what is there to know? Yeah.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. What is there to know when we already know this? So let's awaken to that ancient wisdom and knowledge within us that we are equal, that we act on equanimity, and let's lift each other up within our mom communities, because I think sometimes as women we can get competitive, we can be mean, you know. I say it because it's true. Sometimes
Say
it
it,
happens.
girlfriend.
I said it. But let's get peaceful. Let's apply this win-win soul leadership, because in every soul leadership, so if you are dominant in your style of leadership, then also pay attention that at the end of that journey, which can be infinite, right? There's infinite growth for all of us in that journey. We don't have to, we can be in a win-win situation at all times. So in this infinite journey, pay attention to uplifting the other. So hold that soul sister or mom's hand as you're leading. So
Right.
if you're dominating and you go, you know, God bless you, because I know you are the high achievers, you are the go-getters, you get it done. And for whether you're type A or type B leaders or soul leaders, make sure you don't let go of the hand of the soul sister next to you. Don't let go of
Yes.
the connection. So if we can hold hands, if we can take each other
Yes.
on this journey, then we are going to win.
Stronger together.
That's right, stronger together.
Always, always.
Better and
yeah.
stronger together.
Yes.
So lead with your hearts
Yes.
and peace learning intent. Roma, what is going on in your neck of the wood? I want to update on schools.
Yes,
and all
it's
the
been
beautiful
very
work.
exciting, very, very exciting. You know, the mindfulness program has done very, very well throughout the school districts in Santa Clarita where I live, and now we're starting to pick up other districts as well. And so,
Congratulations.
yes,
Oh
so
my
for
goodness,
year
I'm
2,
so
I can't say
excited.
yet.
Wow.
I can't say yet because
Yeah.
things are all in the works at this point, but hopefully at our next show, thank you. Hopefully on our next show I'll be able to share a little bit more as to which other districts have opted into the program. And it's been very successful, and it's been a lot of fun. And I think the most important part for me, Nellie, has been the soul satisfaction of just being able to do the work that I love to do, and hopefully making a difference in our children's lives.
You are. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So for those of you who are in the educational system and you want to join Roma on this movement and this journey, bringing mindfulness to schools, to playgrounds, to teachers, educators, even if you're watching from the other side of the world, from the Middle East, God bless you, wherever you are, we want you to join this conversation. Contact Roma Khetarpal, toolsofgrowth.com. Connect, build this connected community. This is what Mom Talk is all about. Get on Mom Talk LA, join our webpage, join conversations, ask questions. You're on social media, so if they want to get in touch with you, Tools of Growth.
Yes, toolsofgrowth.com, or you can email me at roma@toolsofgrowth.com. So yes, several different ways. And of course, on all social media handles, Twitter and Instagram and, pretty much everything that we can think of. Do we have a list now of all our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram?
You can't miss us. You
Snapchat,
cannot miss us. We moms are, we are just...
House party.
Yes, that's right.
It's a new one.
We are so creative in finding beautiful ways to connect. So wherever you are, if you are interested to join us, please do.
Yeah.
We are excited to have you on board. We're excited to spread this message of mindfulness and peace learning and doing good for the world. And really, I think when our intent is on bringing positive growth, thriving, and that positive energy.
Yes.
Isn't it true?
Absolutely.
Like when you meet and encounter
especially
like-minded people, the collective,
there's
like
so
the
much power
super
in
soul
that.
sessions,
Yes.
so much positivity and growth, and
Yes.
you just feel like you can just like pull and lift the world up and
Yes.
and do anything. Anything
Yes.
is possible. So bring that on by joining, by making your voice heard.
Yes.
Because we love you and you matter. So, closing remarks, Roma?
Thank you. It's always fun. It's always an honor. I think time goes by so fast when we're together and
Right.
we talk on so many different topics. So thank you so much. It's been wonderful. And the work that you do, Nellie, has really changed so many lives.
you're
And
gonna
such
make
an
me
example
cry.
you
You're gonna make me
are.
cry.
You really are such a living example for
you.
so many women within our community where, not all of us were raised the way you and I were
Yeah,
raised, right?
yeah, that's right.
So be able to give them that hope and that courage.
Yeah.
all
And
those-
I encountered lots of different types of moments. It wasn't all peace learning.
Oh, of course, all of
yeah.
us.
I mean, even my dad, the
Yeah,
conscious
yeah.
parent, he spanked me once.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So there you have it, okay, Papa?
Yeah, yeah.
Because I put
There
a
I
toy.
said
I put a toy in the toilet. So it
That
happens.
I would have spanked you for too. No.
It happens.
Of course, if we're
Yeah.
talking about, really the overarching umbrella of the relationship.
Yeah.
All of us have those
We're faulted.
moments.
We're
Of
all
course,
faulted.
of
We're all
course.
faulted. We all
Or-
struggle.
Yes.
And we
We
are
are-
warriors. We're warrior moms.
Yes.
Until next time, love you.
Take care.
Mwah.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.